shoulder replacements, every time we get a patient and they have got shoulder arthritis, I still get asked the question, is it really an operation? Are you really going to do it, doctor? Or is it just a make-up thing? So I thought I'll let you know today that how long it's been going on. So I'm not the first one, many people tried it before. And this is the man who tried it first. And there's a Frenchman, you can sort of look at him and see, he's probably a hip surgeon because shoulder surgeons don't look like that usually. It's quite a chubby chop sign. And what he used to do was that in the morning he would apparently do about 4 odd belly operations and cut 4 or 5 people up and let them die because not many survived after surgery. Then tuck into big meal and then do his shoulder replacement, which somebody's copied it up on the right hand side, and the one in the middle is one of those original things which he used to make up. It's made out of a bit of plastic, bit of rubber bands, and it was then tied to the front and back of the joint with little nails and things. Unfortunately, the patient needed to be held down, and soft tissues were nowhere to be seen because we had to take everything off to put that thing in. Afterwards, it didn't work, unfortunately. Because unlike hips, shoulders are very unforgiving, and not easy to do. Then came along Charles Neer, and he devised a shoulder, and the one on the right hand side is 1951, because originally they were only done for fractures, so you can see the holes in it, so you need to attach your muscles and tuberosities and everything back. But once you've got it in, it needs to get up and go places, rather than just trundle along. So he devised it very well, but then he thought that let's start doing for the arthritis. So the one on the right hand side is taken the holes out, forgetting that people will still be breaking their arms. They were very difficult to do. So those who got that version for fractures, they were like that, still pinging around Manchester and struggling, unfortunately. But it made the joint an everyday operation, or brought it out into the light. The next bit was a British bit, and all the hip surgeons always tell you resurfacing is their invention. The first resurfacing was a shoulder resurfacing, and that's been around the longest as an operation, and have always worked. Because we didn't go into metal on metal, we went on to metal on bone. So we put on one side on the bone, on the other side is the patient himself, and it works fantastically well. If that bit fails, you put a plastic in the middle, and it works again. So that's been going on for nearly now 20, 25 years, because the original ones were 83 or thereabouts. Why they are so difficult to do? Because there's so many muscles and you have to balance it out. Shoulder is just a golf ball which sits on a tee. And to balance it on there, you don't just have to make sure that it sits dead down the center, but you also have to make sure that it sits in the back nicely, front nicely, and fits nicely, because it needs to go up, down. It's the most versatile joint in the body. So you need to throw things, you need to get things. Ladies want to do their brows in the back, they want to comb their hair, they want to look pretty. And you see the one who's got a bad shoulder will always have a bad hairdo on that side. What we can do with these things, those pictures I took them down on the internet, these are the ones which you see, but these ones are original ones. These are ones from the one I operated on this morning. Didn't do a shoulder replacement, he's got a fracture of the coracoid where all his conjoint tendons come off. But these kinds of pictures, we can reproduce them from a 3D reconstruction of a CT scan. So now we can see where we need to make the shoulders sit. So a lot of the shoulders are very versatile. So they are made in a way, there are multiple different pieces which you fit together, and there are some of them are lying over there. And Mark has very kindly brought them over there. You can have a look at them and he will tell you how they work and what you can do with them. So you have to balance them in different positions. You also have to dial them in to get them in the exact perfect position where they work. Because if they are a little bit bigger or smaller, they won't work very well. So that's a typical arthritis. I think it's because of the lights, you can't see it very well, but that's a joint which is completely worn out. And typically a lot of people will get diagnosed if you don't have an X-ray with a frozen shoulder or a very painful shoulder which doesn't move. And usually they will come around and walk around like that and can't lift it up. So the glenohumeral movement is gone. Most of the bit which is left behind is scapulothoracic. The shoulder's got 3 joints in it, collarbone and shoulder bone, and then you've got the glenohumeral proper joint, and you've got the scapulothoracic joint in the back. So you load that down, nothing will move after that. So what we do them, the way we do them, we template them nowadays. We've got the computer programs, we can put them on, perfectly measure it, pinpoint it. The reason we don't do Mr. Copeland's joint, because when he made it, there were only 2 sizes. So you opened the patient up, looked at it and said, well, should I go big or small today? But then they got little better. The ones we use is made by someone else, and it's got more sizes, and you can fit them perfectly that way. So you can see it sits perfectly in an AP plane, and that's an auxiliary plane where you lift up. So we always do an auxiliary view. I can't do operations without it. And you also need to see that the glenoid is concentric. If it's worn out in the front and back, then it's always going to need a socket. So that's how it all changes. You can see the sizes and also the amount of head which can be covered with changed over a period of time. So these are very finely manufactured things. These ones have got coating on the back. So you can get the same one out of the packet and it will be £1,000 or £1,300. The one which is £1,300 has got grit plastic, so it's roughened on the back, it grows into the bone. It's also got hydroxyapatite coating, so it grows bone onto it, and then it gets stuck in there, and they stay forever. You don't have to do anything, you just have to cut the size and put it in. This is resurfacing for cuff tear arthropathy, where you've lost all the muscles, you've got an extra bit of rehab. Our experience with the first one, we've put in, between me and John Fisher, we must have put in a couple of hundred, but the first 43 or 45 now, we're more than 5 years. And we were always told if you do half a shoulder joint, it will last you a lifetime, and only 5 out of 300 will need to be changed to the total. Our experience is different, it's more than 13 or 14%. And these ones, we were very excited about them because it's got a wonderful thing, it's got a little extra bit on it, another 120 pounds gone down the drain, and we put them in happily. Unfortunately, they don't seem to work as well. And we're just sitting on the fence about those, so I'll tell you what we're going to do instead. This is cuff tear arthropathy, where the shoulder is now gone to a stage where it's not going to come back, it's gone to never land. All the muscles have torn, it's proximally moved, and the patient is basically in a stage where they can only do about that much, and also it's very painful. For these ones and fractures where all the bits have broken and come off and the tuberosity muscles are gone, we do a shoulder which is called reverse. The reason it's called reverse is the ball is on the socket side and the socket is on the ball side. And the reason you can make it work is that you have got still deltoid left behind. Also, pectoralis major and latissimus dorsi in the back they come, and you can recruit those fibers, and humans are very resourceful, so once you have to do it and your life depends on if you start working. Not every one of them goes on to be a winner, and the risk of infection and complications is higher. So I've now put in 75 and I've had 5 deep infections in them. 2 of them I've successfully treated, the other 3 I had to remove the joints and throw them in the bin. This won't work because Mr. Kapoor didn't let me merge the video with it, so you just have to take my word for it. But this is how it works. All these fibers left behind and the deltoid left behind. As long as all those work, you'll be able to, with a miracle, once the joint is in, it takes about 6 months to come back or a year to get movement up to 90 degrees. We can also put in a high mobility cuff where you can lift your shoulder above the shoulder height and above the head. But everyone we did that to came back for revision because they used it and they did all those things which they promised before they wouldn't do. So once you give a child a toy, there's no way of stopping him from using it. So you can't say don't play with it. On the right hand side is a hemiarthroplasty. On the left hand side here is the total shoulder. The only difference is that I know it's a total shoulder because there's a marker there because there's a plastic in it. The reason we try not to put plastics in the shoulder because it's thinned out, and the shoulder is got a flat socket, and they usually point where and they wear off. The thinner it is, it somehow lasts longer. The thicker it is, it goes quickly. So about 5–10 years, it will always need revising. But they remain pain-free. The pain always goes with the total shoulder replacement, so we still do them. The one on the other side is a hemiarthroplasty, which is done for a fracture. So in those cases, we always do hemi. They have cement. This one has got no cement. We try to avoid cement wherever possible. And this is the new bit which is lying over there. You can see that. That's what I was talking about, just when we have nothing else. With the hemi-research things, so the head is in your way. It's like somebody saying, look, you know, shine a light into this room and your head is in the way, and the nurses always say, if you could remove your head, you'll be able to see what you're doing. So if head is in the way, I can't replace a socket. So these ones, you can chop the proximal bit off and then put a socket in. So these pictures are borrowed from Mark, but we are about to do ours one minute start, me and Johan Fisher. So that's a small joint which goes on the top basically, and we have got a socket underneath. So it's a total shoulder replacement. So just a proximal heel total shoulder replacement. All the muscles and everything is left attached where they are. We only open subscapularis, going through there, replace it and come out. As long as it's well fitting and well done, people will get full range of motion. If you want to revise it to a total shoulder later and it fails, you can still do that, but it will be almost a primary operation, as long as the muscle doesn't fail. So I've made an algorithm, it's in your little folder. I think you can look at that and you can ask me questions, what we do with them and what we do afterwards. But this is something which we devised when we sat down, me and Johan, and thought what we're going to do with them, how we're going to follow. So we had to have some guidance for ourselves as well, what we are going to do. And we usually follow these and try and stick to them so that the results can be consistent. Otherwise, we're going to have, put on the right. So these are the places where allegedly I work nowadays. Battlefield, that's a very flattering picture. So I took myself at the level behind the corner. Read and see is still there. And that's Alex. So, where is needed. So, that's all I have to say. Any questions?